This is something that I believe. Okay. I'm not trying to make this into a doctrine or preach this into, this is just something that I personally believe. The first Jesus movement was about music, primarily. You know what the Jesus movement is. It was when many hippies got saved. The hippies, they were into, promiscuity, drugs, Eastern mysticism, all kinds of stuff. They were into all that stuff, but they got saved and abandoned that stuff. But they kept the music. They kept the bohemian fashions. They kept, they kept their style. And they carried it with them into the Christian music that they made. And that music, the Jesus music, still influences modern Christian music today. Now, in my opinion, a lot of modern Christian music isn't very good. But my point still stands. And people are waiting for another Jesus movement. I know that a lot of people seem to be waiting for another Jesus movement. And there was the Ashbury Revival last year. That was a big movement, with young people and stuff. But I don't think that's it. I think the next Jesus movement is going to be something that a lot of Christians, particularly the older ones, won't even be expecting at all. Completely out of left field. Something they never even paid attention to. What is that? Well, I think a lot of people expect it's going to be another music movement. More rock music or more, whatever, some genre. I don't know. But they're looking for that. But I don't think that's what it's going to be. The first movement was about music. Because before the Jesus movement, a lot of Christians were just playing traditional music. The same old. Same music they'd been playing before. But the Jesus movement made it more, how would I say, palatable. More. I'm not saying worldly, but it made it where people were interested in the church. Yes, that's what Christian music was. Now, there was an attempt. I think it was contrived. It was fakey. It did not seem real in the 90s to try to get another Jesus movement. Kirk Cameron, Bible Man, all that stuff. Yeah, the Christians trying to make all these media to get people saved. And not saying that all the media was bad, but it was preachy and it seemed fake. It was like, what do you call it? The moral substitute, as TV Tropes calls it. Like, oh, you can't watch Batman because that's secular. Watch Bible Man instead because he quotes Bible verses. He fights crime, but he quotes Bible verses, and that's better. You should do that. No, I'm sorry. 90s Christian culture is cringe. That's not the second Jesus movement. That was a contrived attempt at another Jesus movement. What do I think the next Jesus movement will be? Well, I think it will be not music, but art. Not necessarily movies, but particularly illustrated art. That's something that has been dead in the church for hundreds of years. Because a lot of Christians think that art has to be preachy, like I said with Bible Man and stuff. The art that they make have to be preachy. But I explained that in another video called 3 Types of Christian Art. Okay, what do I believe that the next Jesus movement will be? It will be a movement with art. A lot of young artists, including me, use a website called DeviantArt. Yeah, it's a website. It's just the website's name. There's a lot of people that are young artists that are talented that are on that website, and some of the art is really not good. But that's not what this video is about. I believe that a lot of young artists will one day, they might not know it, one day get saved, and they will start making art for the kingdom. Not necessarily preachy art, but they will start making art for the kingdom, to strengthen the kingdom, to build the kingdom. That's what I believe that the second Jesus movement will be. Sorry, my radio voice is a silly voice. I'm not trying to sound silly here. This is a very, very serious topic. My other videos are just funny. I mean, they're real topics, but my other videos are just made to be funny. But this is a very serious topic. This is what I believe is coming. I'm not trying to make a doctrine out of it, but that's what I believe. I believe that the next Jesus movement will not be about music. It will be about art. What is one of the most popular mediums right now of art related? You know what it is? It's anime. It's anime and manga. In the 90s, that was considered nerd stuff, but now it's mainstream. In fact, I'd say it's even more popular than a lot of the music that's coming out. And a lot of Christians just don't even interact with it at all. At best. Or at worst, they'll say it's satanic and demonic. And now I understand there are some shows that do have some stuff that, yeah, I do not like. And a lot of those shows I would absolutely just avoid altogether. You know which shows I'm talking about. Yeah. But anyway, because of that, many Christians just avoid anime altogether as a category, as if the category itself was evil. What is anime? Well, it's Japanese animation. I'm not saying that Americans can make Japanese animation. I'm just saying that style of cartoon, that style of media is very popular. And I think that will probably be one of the forces of the next Jesus movement, will be Christian anime. And when I say Christian anime, I don't necessarily mean preachy anime. I just mean anime made by Christians, by American Christians, and possibly by Japanese Christians. Japan is not a very Christian nation. However, I know many missionaries in Japan who say that people are hungry for the gospel. And maybe one day it will happen. And that's what I feel like is going to happen. I'm not trying to preach this as a doctrine, but that's what I believe. That's what I believe is coming. One thing that a lot of Christians don't know is a trial run of this happened in the early 80s. A lot of Christians don't know this. Do you know this show? Yeah, I think a lot of Christians have at least seen stuff about this show, but they probably don't know what it was originally. Back in the early 1980s, there was a minister named Warren Marcus. He worked for Pat Robertson. He died last year. I'll just let this video explain the rest.
Japan is a country that's full of pictures. The first present a Japanese child usually receives is a camera, and pictures here record all the special occasions and family outings. In the hectic, fast-paced world of modern Tokyo, intricate pictures are still the means of written communication. So when Japanese and American creative directors put their heads together to find a way to show the peace and serenity that Christ offers each individual, what did they come up with? Animated pictures in a new television series where characters live through a different Bible story each week. The show's senior producer is CBN's Warren Marcus.
The first time I really walked into the Japan production companies, it was a really strange feeling because you have to take off your shoes. And I thought about it in terms of this project, that it was like Moses taking off his shoes on holy ground, you know? And it was a really strange feeling. It was my big Western boots, you know, in the midst of all of these Japanese shoes and mixed culture shoes. This is the final phase, the editing stage, where all of the work comes together. They take the pictures, the movie pictures that were taken from the animation camera, all exposed now, and they can see them back in rushes. And then what they have to do is bring them to life with sound effects, music, and with the voices of the actors. And this is a complicated phase because they have to dub in every little footstep and every little sound effects. It's very much like the church. You have to be able to fit together jointly and work together in a project to keep the consistency, to make the product look good.
While animation artists have been hard at work, Jason Vinley, also of CBN, has been living in Japan for the past 2 months, heading up a team of writers who've been carefully developing the scripts.
Culturally, in Japan, harmony is something that is intrinsic, and they strive for it. So consequently, in working with these people, you learn to strive for that harmony or that unity, and they are working that way with you. Is she giving some specific example of that?
Not especially.
There's a hierarchy, a structure, a protocol That is part of the culture, and you can't overstep your bounds. So consequently, when I'm at a writer's meeting, I have to speak with the writer's representative and not deal directly with the writers or the animators. So
and you're dealing through a translator at the same time.
And through a translator to the writer's representative. So sometimes it's very frustrating, but sometimes it's remarkable what happens, how the Spirit of God moves through these people and breaks down communication barriers, and we accomplish the same goal.
This series will be shown on television. It's going to cover 80% of Japan. Really is all of Japan, but we call it 80%, over 22 stations across Japan. And these stations are most of them are with the Fuji network. And we did this to get the best time slots available so that it doesn't compete with other shows that might take away an audience.
The series is planned to lead up to the birth of Jesus Christ, just as Japanese homes are celebrating Christmas, the only major Christian holiday in Japan.
Christmas in Japan is an unusual thing. This is not a Christian country, but in a strange sense, December could almost be called a Christian month in this country. For that reason, we have geared our entire program for it, in one sense, to peak during December. This is when the strongest appeal will be made, when we feel there will be the highest level of receptivity.
Modern Japanese young people are increasingly open to Western ideas and are searching for answers outside of traditional Japanese culture. By Christmas time this year, 80% of these young people can have a new curiosity about the Bible and can know that Jesus Christ was born for them. It's all possible with your support of this special campaign in Japan. Join us in introducing literally millions of Japanese people to the risen Lord. For the 700 Club, I'm Kathy Osbeck in Tokyo, Japan.
And that show existed before anime culture as we know it today. It did not exist. There was no anime culture as we know it today. But one thing you need to know, CBN actually is partially responsible for the explosion of anime in the United States, because not only did they air Superbook, but they also aired other shows, wholesome shows that were like, adaptations of classical literature and stuff. But those shows aren't very popular anymore because the quality isn't very high. But it was Japanese, and it got people interested in Japanese animation. And so they are partially, in fact, Pat Robertson is partially responsible for the explosion of anime in the West. I have been studying Japanese almost every day since 2015 because I feel that God has called me to make manga. What is manga? Manga is the comic book form of anime, but I feel that God has called me to make manga, and I don't want to just make it in English. I want to write it in the real language of manga, in Japanese. I feel like there have been incidents in my life where God has just hinted at this throughout my entire life, even my childhood. I can't go into all those right now because that would make the video much longer. But I truly feel that this is what God has called me to do. Just thinking about it makes me weep. I've had dreams about people, about famous Japanese creators. A certain one in particular, actually, not in general. But I'd rather not get into the whole details. But yeah, I've had dreams about people saying that they want to get saved, that they want to follow Jesus.